bird-like dinosaurs. Welcome guys once again to the channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where we rank, you guessed it, dinosaurs. And, before we start with today's video topic and tier list, you might be asking and wondering, yo, Mr. Ranking with Dinosaurs, where's your display here looking a little bit, empty, not displaying, making it, doing its, diligent job of displaying your wonderful dinosaur, figures. And to that, I say, it is actually tied to something else. And that is the fact, to the fact that in the last, 2-3 weeks, there's only been like a video weekly, when usually, I say there's 2. And it's the fact that I am currently in the process of moving. I know it's annoying. Not that I'm where I'm going to move, but the actual process, especially if we're moving very far away, which I'm doing, and it actually is gonna take me like a month or 2 to fully move. So you're probably gonna be looking at this display looking very empty, at least, and except for my friend here. This is actually my uncle's figure. My uncle's brontosaurus is gonna be keeping me company while we make the videos, at least for 1 or 2 months, I would say. So that's enough of me yapping. Sorry to bore you with my story, but that is the reason why there has been a ton of videos. Hopefully, when I'm fully moved in, I'm gonna have much more time. But as of now, bird-like dinosaurs. I mean, as you all know, birds are dinosaurs, but not all dinosaurs are birds. So, without further ado, I'm going to be using the term bird as to, modern birds. As, some people's going to say in the comments, like, actually, if birds are actually dinosaurs. I know, buddy. I'm just, what we have to the concept of birds today, these dinosaurs do look a lot like these guys. Modern day birds. So, without further ado, we're going to be starting with ARCHAEOPTERYX. This is the ancient wing, the predecessor to all we know about, feathered dinosaurs or dinosaurs in general. ARCHAEOPTERYX is a genus of a bird-like dinosaur. Now, back, in the 19th century to, I would say, 20th century, actually, it was thought to be the, predecessor to all birds. But, as we all know, much older avians have been identified. So, this guy lived in the late Jurassic. Now, this is in today's Germany, which seems to be, a very rich place for, I would say, early to middle Mesozoic fauna or, formations. Which is honestly, I love that. Europe specifically seems to be a place where, a lot of these much older formations are much more prevalent. Now, back then there was during the late Jurassic, Germany was a series of archipelagos. So this guy, our little friend ARCHAEOPTERYX, was probably thriving, hopping from island to island. Again, it was not very big. I actually could grow up to 50 centimeters, so this actually works perfectly. It's 50 centimeters, 20 inches, about the size of a raven, of a modern-day raven. This guy still had jaws with, really small but sharp teeth. Still had the 3 fingers with claws and a long bony tail, which is something that modern birds kind of lost due to having a pygostyle now. Yes, I think that's what it's called. Funny thing, it still had a killing claw, which it's reminiscent of dromaeosaurids. Obviously, this guy was very, very feathered, which it used again for flying or gliding, like some other paleontologist suggests. Actually, not only the evidence of feathers is important for that, but it actually helped us to prove that actual dinosaurs were active, warm-blooded animals. Now, with more specimens, many more specimens being discovered, ARCHAEOPTERYX is a clear candidate for what we call a transitional fossil between probably, yes, dinosaurs and birds, and it played, a big part in the study of these, not only birds, but yes, the dinosaurs themselves. So, ARCHAEOPTERYX, pretty awesome. I think we all know ARCHAEOPTERYX. Again, one of the first ones. So I'm gonna be very generous, and I'm gonna put it at the top of A tier for now. RAHONAVIS. Now, RAHONAVIS is a bird-like theropod from the late Cretaceous, and to be more specifically, late Maastrichtian. Now, this was in northwestern Madagascar. Yes, exciting. I love late Cretaceous Madagascar, one of my favorite places on history. Now, it is known from a partial skeleton, RAHONAVIS, and is found in the Maivarano Formation, which is really close to the Mahajanga, where, stuff like Mahajangasaurus have been found. Now, this was a small predator, again, at 70 centimeters or 2.3 feet, 2.3 feet long, and weighed a max of 2.2 kilograms or 5 pounds. Now, funnily enough, again, it actually bore a, typical dromaeosaur sickle claw. That is going to be, a pretty telling that, this is a primitive, much more primitive, feature of these animals that they still haven't lost yet, which is, that, enlarged second claw, second digit, sorry. And to this day, is actually RAHONAVIS is not clear if it could fly. Now, some paleontologists actually consider RAHONAVIS to be a chimera, which means that it was an assemblage of different animals and put into one. Now, while other paleontologists, including, yes, the original, ones that actually did find RAHONAVIS, actually maintain its validity because the actual fossils were found in so close together, like they could fit in an envelope, in a mailbox envelope. So, I choose to believe that RAHONAVIS is actually real. Now, the fossils of RAHONAVIS suggest that it had much more powerful wings than earlier birds. So, what this means is that their main method of locomotion, which means the main method that they used to fly, was clumsier. However, if you want to compare it to something, compared to modern day bats, they just flap like crazy so they can maintain themselves in the air, instead of much more modern birds that you see today. Think of it as like a bat, a feathered bat. Is it gonna contest with ARCHAEOPTERYX? I don't think it will. But I'm gonna put it. Oh, I'm gonna put it in A tier. I have to. I love RAHONAVIS. MAHAKALA. MAHAKALA is a genus of ARCHAEOPTERYX. Now, this is a theropod dinosaur from the late Cretaceous, and the actual fossil was found as a partial skeleton in the Gobi Desert. Now, this is in Mongolia, and it is part of the Jedokta Formation. Now, if you know a bit about formations, and you've seen my videos, specifically the Asian formations video, that this guy's from the Jedokta Formation. Now, the Jedokta Formation is very, very famous because it has the likes of Velociraptor and Protoceratops. And it's actually one of my favorite formations from Asia as well, because it is very intriguing and very interesting in the fact that most of the fauna that has been found there is either medium to small size. So I don't know. That is such a cool feature of that place. I'm a big fan. So our little friend here, MAHAKALA, again, a small dromaeosaurid. Now, being amongst the most basal ones, it had a size of only 70 centimeters or 28 inches and weighed about 700 grams or 25 ounces. And the actual specimen is almost reached adulthood, so this is almost like an adult size MAHAKALA. Now, like all the dromaeosaurids, this guy would have been a very small, inactive, predaceous carnivore. Yeah, predaceous, new word for you. Again, this time, as we all know, or if you don't know, I think I'll talk about ARCHAEOPTERYX in my dromaeosaur video. ARCHAEOPTERYX are known to be very strong and fast swimmers. They like to spend a lot of time in the water, where MAHAKALA, a little friend here, probably spend most of its time fishing. Yes, eating and catching very small fish, which probably was its main supplementary, its main dietary preference. I think I'm still gonna put it in B tier, which is not bad. So I think it's pretty middle of the road going to putting in B tier, but I think I'm gonna leave it there. CHANGYURAPTOR. Gonna be moving on, and CHANGYURAPTOR is a four-winged predatory dinosaur. Now, this guy is known from a single fossil specimen, specifically from the early Cretaceous in the Liaoning province in China. Now, at the time of discovery, CHANGYURAPTOR was actually the largest macroraptorian that has ever been found. And you might be thinking, wait, CHANGYURAPTOR is a microraptorian, so we're talking about CHANGYURAPTOR and not Microraptor? And did I say yes, I am, because if you want to listen to my thoughts about Microraptor, I do have a video about Dromaeosaurs, and I wanted to, not mention Microraptor once again. And CHANGYURAPTOR has its own things. Specifically, it is huge. Now, as I was saying, CHANGYURAPTOR is known from a single specimen. Now, this was a fully grown individual, and it reached 1.2 meters, or 3.9 feet long, and weighed 4 kilograms, or 8.8 pounds. Now, think of these guys were like mostly Macroraptorians are small little guys. This guy was pretty big. Now, if we're talking about, if you want to know like the actual measurement, I'll tell you in, the American metric system, this was about the size of a turkey. Just so you know. Now, the presence of, this full feather coat, which obviously it had, and it actually had 2 pairs of wings. Yes, those on the arms, those on the legs. Oh, sorry. And, suggesting that this animal was pretty much very much capable of flight. Now, what's interesting is that feathers at the tip of the tail were really long. Like, they reached almost 30 centimeters or almost 12 inches long. Now, aiding this was mostly for a much softer and safer landings, which, the animal was pretty much always on the, on the hunt. That would be, its main method of, having the surprise factor on its prey. I would say also not only flight aided in hunting, but also escaping, since it, it had to escape the jaws of danger, specifically from the main predator or the apex predator of the time, which was Eutyranus. So, I absolutely love CHANGYURAPTOR. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I'm so sorry. I have to. JEHOLORNIS. JEHOLORNIS is actually an avialan dinosaur that lived during the early Cretaceous in China. Now, fossils of our little friend here, JEHOLORNIS, were discovered in the Geophotang Formation, firstly in the Geophotang Formation, in addition to later specimens being found in older formations like the Yixian. Now, these guys had pretty long tails, few, but still small teeth, and by reaching sizes up to 75 centimeters or 2.5 feet, they were actually quite sizable for very early tree-dwelling animals, and an estimated weight of 9 kilograms or 20 pounds. Their skulls were actually short and high, with their diet including cycad seeds or ginkgos or similar plants seeds. Now, they actually resemble kind of like very basal oviraptorisaurians, like the likes of Epidepteryx or Incisivosaurus. The first specimen, actually, of JEHOLORNIS shows impressions of flight feathers. Now, these flight feathers were asymmetrical in nature, which means they were very good aerodynamically, which means that they were better. They had better flight capabilities than even ARCHAEOPTERYX, the first birds. They actually had the ability also for perching, something that modern birds can do. And since they had a mostly an arboreal lifestyle, or at least that's what it suggested. So, JEHOLORNIS, I'm a big fan of you. Am I going to put you in S tier with your peer, CHANGYURAPTOR? I don't think so. But I think you're going to go right in the middle of A tier, yes. CONFUCIUSORNIS. First, let me know how it's pronounced. I said CONFUCIUSORNIS because this is the first pronunciation that rolled out of my mouth. But this is a basal crow-sized avialan from the early Cretaceous of the Yixian and Geophotang formation. Yes, kind of like JEHOLORNIS. However, unlike JEHOLORNIS and like modern birds, it had a toothless beak. Now, although it does have a toothless beak, this is actually a condition which evolved convergently, because later birds like Hesperornithoides, like Hesperornis, actually do have teeth. Now, this guy was actually thought to be the oldest known bird to have had a beak. It is actually as well the most abundant vertebrate in the Yixian formation, with tons of different fossils and a total length of 50 centimeters or 1.6 feet. It was again crow-sized and only weighing 0.5 kilograms or 1.1 pounds. One of the coolest things about CONFUCIUSORNIS, though, is the fact that it had both very derived and much more primitive features at the same time, with the derived ones being it had a piggle style now, so no long tail, and it actually had a bony sternum. If we're talking about the more primitive ones, more primitive than modern birds, I would say retaining the large claws. It's a big part of it on the forelimbs, and a much more primitive skull, which had a closed eye socket, unlike, again, modern birds. So, CONFUCIUSORNIS, I'm a fan. They're basically little prehistoric birds. I know we say that about ARCHAEOPTERYX and, stuff like MAHAKALA, but they do have a much more, like primitive look to them, much more dromaeosaur feel. But, CONFUCIUSORNIS, we're already tapping into the territory of, this is just a bird, but from the past. I'm going to put it in A tier as well. I think it wasn't that much S tier heavy, so I think this is good. I think that's good. I think that's very fair for it. And that is going to be the tier list, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, bird-like dinosaurs, definitely left a lot of them out. So let me know in the comments, which is your favorite bird-like dinosaur? Yes, I know dinosaurs are birds. Stop saying it. But which one of these ones is your favorite? Which ones did I forget? Do you want a part 2? Which ones do you want to see in a part 2? So, yes, write those in the comments. Again, thank you guys for your support. Again, I'm sorry about the lack of videos. There's only been like one every week when I usually post 2, but with the moving is actually a pain in the ass. So I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, we're gonna be by the end of the year. We're gonna be course correcting that. So without further ado, guys, if you want to help the channel, please, there are 2 ways. Like the video, it helps a lot. Subscribe, it helps even more. And I will see you guys in the next video.